Lesson Studio tonight. I'm really excited about this lesson. Tonight we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to do, which is to add some really cool notes back to the pentatonic scale. So we're going to kind of solve that problem for you if you've been playing the pentatonic scale and you feel like it's kind of lacking, you don't have enough stuff going on, right? So this is a really easy thing to do, and we're going to jump on into how this works now. So I'm playing along with this backing track. I'll hit this play for a little bit here. This is number 41 from Dave Matthews. I happen to be wearing the shirt. It's kind of a pure coincidence. And I'm going to be playing the minor pentatonic scale. So I'll play that for a little bit here. And then I'm going to show you how it sounds if I do this enhancement and see if you can tell the difference. So here we go. E minor pentatonic scale. I'm going to jump right in here. It's going to sound just fine what I'm doing. I'm trying to play nothing but pentatonic. It's kind of hard for me to do that actually. Not one single note I'm playing is not in the E minor pentatonic scale. They all are. Okay, so that sounds okay. It all works, but what am I doing? What can I do to make that better? So I'll play the same exact thing, but this time I'm going to add this little extra nuance to it. See if you can hear the difference. Nothing else is going to change. Same types of easy lines. Now, I added a couple more notes in that I really wanted to, and I'll explain that in a second. But what I was doing there is what I call pentatonic scale modal enhancement. All right, so our E minor pentatonic scale, for all the theory nerds out there, it is coming from the E Aeolian scale. So that is one of the 7 modes, right? So G major is our parent scale. If we go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The key of G. Now, if you don't know your major scales, there's a lesson on the channel right here. for the 7 major scale patterns in the key of G. So you can learn those, and then you can adapt that to what we're doing, because they're sort of the same. Major and minor kind of work hand in hand in relative keys. So if I play this G major scale, if I start that on the 6th note, I get something called the Aeolian mode. Right? So that's the same scale, starting on the 6th degree instead of the 1st degree. Here's the 1st degree. Here's the 6th degree. Here, one's kind of happy, one's sad, right? Relative keys, major and minor. The G major 7 chord and an E minor 6 chord, they actually share, E minor 7, I was thinking there. G major 7 and E minor 7 are 75% the same. They share 75% of the same notes, so the relative major and minor. Now, what we're going to do here is play this Aeolian scale, but if we just play that scale up and down the neck, it's going to kind of sound more academic necessarily than you might want it to over top of this progression, or any progression for that matter. And I find that playing modally like that, playing a scale, a pure mode, works really well if you're shredding. If you're playing faster than like a quarter note, an 8th note, maybe even a 16th note, doing sextuplets with the scale. Kind of sounds cool. That sounds good like that, or 30 seconds. If you play like slower than that, it may not sound that great. So if I play this Aeolian, I'm just going to play the scale. You might notice this might not sound so good if I just go up and down the scale. I'm being very deliberate right now. Obvious. It's kind of tough to create a melody like that. Kind of sounds almost like a Christmas song or something. And that's not a bad thing, but when you're creating a melodic line, what you want to do is have a lot of melodic leaps. Now, I just did a video on phrasing on this live channel about how to phrase. I think the last video I just did. And one of the things I did not mention was creating a lot of melodic leaps. You want a lot of leaps, right? So if you look at like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, starts with an octave. Somewhere. It's a whole octave as a leap, right? So if I can create something where I leap, it's going to sound a lot cooler than just going like, now it depends what you're playing. If you play like, I mean, there's a lot of cool tunes that are created that are purely out of a scale and up and down the scale. So I'm not saying, completely dismissing it. I'm saying that we might want to not do that. So this melodic concept I'm creating here today is I'm going to play the pentatonic scale, but I'm going to add those notes back into it. And then I'm going to create a modal sound, but I'm thinking pentatonic. Now, if you don't know your 5 positions of the minor pentatonic scale yet, here's a video right here that'll show you all 5 of the minor scale patterns up and down the guitar neck in E minor, which is the sister key to G major for the other video you can watch. And there are a number of backing tracks on this channel already that work with those 2 keys, so you can listen to the backing tracks that I have created and just jam along with those. So far they're in E minor and G major. There's a blues coming up here really soon for backing track. That's the next one, so little precursor there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the pentatonic scale, but I'm going to add those 2 notes back into it. And by the way, before I go any further, I'm playing out of my Fractal Audio FM9. It's like the Axe effects, but on the floor version of it. It's now my live rig. I've kind of reconfigured everything, stuck the Mission pedals onto the, actually it's just the other way around. I stuck the FM9 onto my board, which has the Mission pedals. I got a wah pedal and a volume pedal. And I've got 2 weddings this weekend, and I'm going to go out and play, and I'm going to use both. I'm going to use this board for my live performance now. It's my first time doing that. I've got everything set up. I've got 32 amps dialed in, ready to go for a live show. So the sound for the clean guitar is a Fender Tweed. It's a little Fender Tweed speaker. I really like that sound. I have delay, reverb, and a multi-delay, delay happening. So that's kind of a cool sound. I think that's beautiful. And then I'm also playing an acoustic sound. And the acoustic sound's coming from the Axe effects as well. It's something I got on the Axe Exchange, where you can create an acoustic guitar sound. I think it's done with I could be wrong with EQs and filters and such, but it's not actually an acoustic, but it's completely believable. So I use that all the time. So there's that going on too. And I'm playing the Mesa Boogie Mark II++. amplifier model in the Fractal Audio Axe effects. Not with a lot of gain. I am using a drive pedal, but the gain is kind of minimized. So I can start with a clean low sound like this, start clean, and then get louder and louder, but not too loud. The pedal I'm using is the Exotic Effects BB Pre, which I think is a fantastic pedal. It's a great one if you've never played it. I had the AC comp, and I have other Exotic Effects pedals on my actual pedal board, on my analog pedal board, and I really like them. So that's the sound I'm using. And I've got on a looper, I'm playing over the Dave Matthews Band, number 41 is the song. Let's go over those chords quickly, what I'm doing here. Starting with an A minor chord, but it's actually an A minor 9, looks like this. It's an A minor chord, but you're playing your fourth finger on G4. It's kind of a cool chord. It's a Randy Rhoads chord, right? From like Diary of a Madman. I think it's like this. It's about as cool as it gets, right? That's actually a 6th chord like that. And then it's like, oh, that's E. This E at 9 here, and then to the 7th. That's right. So that's a really great sound. It's an A minor chord, but you add your 9 right here. I love that sound. Usually you hear the 9 as the open B string, but we're doing that on the G string instead. You can do it up here too, like this. If you want to do that instead and put your, let me turn this drive pedal off here for these examples of these chords here. So I'll turn this off. So if I had this chord like this, this is A minor 9. Then I'm playing B minor. I'm leaving the G string open, so it's a minor 11 chord. That's cool. So it's B minor with open G. Now I'm not exactly sure if this is what Dave Matthews played. Like, frankly, I don't know. But I played an acoustic duo for a great number of years, J.D. Strum with Jeff Markson and myself. And we did all these Dave Matthews songs. And that's what I heard, and that's what I do, and I like it. So if it's wrong, you know, somebody out there going like, that's not exactly how you play that. Works for me. So there's minor 9, and then this B minor chord with an open G string. E minor 7 to this D add 9. So it looks like this. So in the key of E minor, well, let's look at G first. The key of G is a relative major, right? So we have G is 1 chord, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp, half diminished. It's actually a minor 7 flat 5 like this. And then to the G chord. It's actually a half diminished chord. It's the same name, but a half diminished chord. If you don't know what I'm talking about right there, there's a video on the channel right here about the way the keys of music work. It's in the key of C in the video, but it will talk about the harmonized scale, which is what I was just talking about right there, the way all the chords in the key work together. It's totally worth learning. You should check that out. So Aeolian is related to the major key, right? G major and E minor are related, so they all share the same chords. So if E minor is my 1 chord in the Aeolian mode, A minor is the 4 chord, B minor is the 5 chord of Aeolian, and then the D is this flat 7. Then it goes to G, to D over F sharp, to C, add 9. I guess that's what I heard anyways. G is the 1 chord in the key of G. D is the 5 chord and C is the 4 chord, right? The C chord. So, but in Aeolian, it's 3, 7. It's the 3 chord, 7 chord, and 6 chord. So it depends on how you look at it. You can think of this also as kind of going into the key of G for this chorus part. It's sort of doing like a sort of a retrogression. It's almost like a deceptive cadence because it's landing on the 4 chord instead of the 5 chord. You'd expect it to go like 1, 4, 5, 1. And instead it's going 1, 5, 4, like that instead. So that these are all diatonic chords to the key, right? So it's this. And there's like almost like Freebird, right? That progression right there, but it gets to C. Instead, it's pretty sweet. So what I was doing is I was playing this acoustic sound underneath it from the Axe effects and creating a crescendo. So as it went through the song form, it gets a little bit louder and it creates a little bit of a kind of a build-up as I did that. So I'm going to play the scale here in the first position of the pentatonic scale, really easy, and I'm going to add those notes into it. I'm going to show you how I'm doing this. Now, if you can't do that yet, there's a video on the channel right here about how to start playing guitar solos with the pentatonic scale. It will get you started with phrasing. In fact, sorry, I've been teaching all day. In fact, there might actually be some things on that video adding these notes back in, but it will show you how to begin to start to improvise with the pentatonic scale. If you can't quite do that yet, then you can come back and watch this video and you'll be ready for this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of get to the looper again, and I'm going to let this play, and I'm going to add these notes in, and you're going to see how much better it sounds. By the way, this is over a minor chord. It works over a minor chord. It's not necessarily going to work over major or dominant, but it works really well over minor. Let's take a listen. So here's the scale itself. We kind of start off just nice and slow. Simple scale. Now I'll play a little phrase. Right? I'm going to do it again. Now I'm going to add one of these notes in. Let's add this F sharp note in. Ooh, that's neat. It's better already, isn't it? That's the 9 of the scale. F sharp at the top up here. Okay, now let's add this C note in as well. That was a major scale. It totally works, right? It's the major scale. Back down to quiet again. See, it's such a neat sound, right? Now, you can also kind of practice. There's that Kiss song, I Was Made for Loving You, Baby, right? I was made for loving you. If you play that, you'll hear that song being played when I play this melody. So if I go like this, like, simply just go like. So I teach that for how to hear Aeolian. It's that sound. So you got to learn your 5 positions of the pentatonic scale. And try to start to connect those together. So that takes some practice too. It's not a given that you can do that. If you can't connect your pentatonic scale positions together, there's a video on the channel right here which will teach you how to start to connect the first and second positions of the pentatonic scale together. That one happens to be in A minor, but that will be helpful for you. So I should mention that this C note that we're adding back in here, that C note is not the 6th in an E minor 6 chord. This is a bit of a, kind of a, maybe it's a misunderstanding, right? So if you look at the Aeolian mode, that's the 6 right there, but that's not the note that's in this minor 6 chord. The minor 6 chord sounds like this. It's that note. So how do we arrive at that? It's not this. That would be a C chord. So they don't do that because that's a C chord, right? So that's kind of like not going to work because it's synonymous with C. It's sort of a problem. It's the same exact chord as like playing the C chord, which is the 7 chord of Aeolian. So what happened is the classical composers, over the course of time, they changed the minor scale and they enhanced the minor scale. There's actually a live stream. The very first live stream that I did on this channel for live streams was Woodshed Wednesdays. I talk about the 3 types of minor scales at length, but if you look at your Aeolian scale, the composers decided to raise the 7th to create the harmonic minor scale. And it's called harmonic minor because what it does is it takes your 5 chord and makes it dominant. So harmonically speaking, you have that now instead of this. That sounds wrong, right? If you don't do that, Sweet Dreams would be like this. Sweet dreams are made of this. That doesn't sound right. Aeolian sounds really old-timey. If you look at like Game of Thrones. Oh, there it is. It's very Aeolian. It sounds really old-timey, and I think they did that so Westeros would seem like from the Middle Ages or something. What it would be like in the modern world would be this. That sounds way more like what we're used to. You know, like, let's get loud. That's harmonic minor. Now it does change 3 of the notes. I should rephrase that. That one note changes 3 of the chords in harmonic minor. So if you're learning how to do that in the sense of a learning how to do the key of harmonic minor, you have to change 3 of the notes. But that's for a different video. Anyways, so now we have this raised 7th. Well, then they raised the 6th and the 7th to create something called the melodic minor scale. And as you can see, for those guitar nerds out there, it's 1 note away from a major scale. Here's the major scale. So basically, it's now a major scale with a flat 3rd. However, the composers didn't like that because they thought that sounded sort of obnoxious on the way back down again, so they flatted the notes going back down. So it's raised on the way up and flatted on the way back down. It sounds an awful lot better. If I go like Johnny, rising up your bow and play your fiddle hard. Hell's in Georgia and the devil deals with hearts. That would sound like weird like this. Johnny, rising up your bow and play your fiddle hard. Hell's in Georgia and the... I really like that sound. Personally, I think it sounds kind of cool to put the diminished chord in there. But they didn't like that. The composers were like, no, I don't think so. However, in jazz, it does not get flatted on the way back down. So as you start to learn your jazz melodic minor scales, they don't get flatted, and that's pretty cool. And that's another subject we can get into at a different time. So, boy, did I get off on a tangent there. Bad teacher, bad Drew. So if you look at this scale, that is the 6th of the scale. So this chord, E minor 6, has a raised 6. So if you ever wonder, why am I playing my E minor 6 with a raised 6? Why is that? Sounds like a spy chord, right? The minor 9. Very spy-like. Well, that's why, because it comes from the melodic minor scale. So if you're ever curious about that, that C note is a really weird, it's an anomaly. It's actually exists in harmonic minor in different chords, like multiple chords. So you can look at it different ways. You can have the C natural or the C sharp, which is really kind of neat, actually. It kind of has like a duality of possibilities with that note. But
harmonically speaking, it's sort of in no man's land. I don't know. I talk about this with Steve all the time. Steve's been taking lessons and, well, studying together for geez, almost forever. I don't know, like 20 years, something like that. And we have some really intense discussions, and that's one of our stuck points is harmonic minor and in the harmonic minor world, and how amazing it is and how most substitutions for songs are somehow related to it. So as you can see, I'm adding these notes back in. So if you look at Bold Horizon, which is the most, like the title song from my most recent record, I'm doing this. But then I do this. That's the line I played. Now let's analyze that. First thing is I'm playing what I call mega positioning. I'm playing across two positions of the pentatonic scale at the same time. It's one, it's two, going across multiple positions. By doing something I call a pentatonic sweep, I'm sweeping. on the pentatonic scale, which I think it sounds amazing. I think the sweep picking is cool, for your standard shred sweeping, and I work on that stuff a lot. I think it's really fun. I mean, I like to shred as much as the next guy, right? I mean, we all do. I grew up with that stuff, but these pentatonic sweeps sound really great because they're just little one-offs. As you develop your own voice, you're going to find yourself doing things that you just like, and so you just keep doing them, and that's how you develop your style. I like that sound. I mean, maybe you don't like that sound. I don't know. I like a sound. I do that too much probably, but like maybe it's just easy for me. I don't know, technically simple to do. I started off doing those sweep picks a long time ago. Years ago. Like forever, 1,000 years ago. So I keep developing that further. So as you can look at this line I'm playing, there's that F sharp note. There's that note. I'm adding a note to the pentatonic scale. Was not there before. And there it is again. Now that note, next note I play on that line is that C sharp. There's that pesky raised sixth, right? Let's talk about that for one more second. We talked about harmonic minor having this raised seventh, and then melodic minor having the raised sixth and seventh. In between the harmonic minor scale and the melodic minor scale is the Dorian scale. The Dorian scale kind of is the best of both worlds. It sounds jazzy, but it combines kind of both of those principles. It is a minor scale with a raised sixth. It's like natural minor with a raised sixth. So that's an amazing thing because you could add that really cool color tone in there. To that note. So that's what I was doing. I jumped into Dorian there for a second. I went from Aeolian into Dorian for a split second. But you can also look at this as an F sharp minor chord, which is the 2 chord of E major. It's kind of a parallel key kind of thing there for a moment. Playing F sharp. I'm just playing a triad over top of this progression because it sounds good. You have to let your ear be the guide. There's the F sharp note again. This is standard Andy Summers stacked fifths thing that you've probably done before. To the B note, to the F sharp, and there's the F sharp again. I keep featuring that note. There it is. There it is. That's the first line of Bold Horizon. So check out that tune. You can just Google Drew Bentley and it'll pop right up there. Bold Horizon, there it is. Now another thing I'm doing on Bold Horizon, I'll get to your comment in one second, is this thing I call pentatonic chords. This is a huge thing. If you've never done this before, again, on the channel, there's a video on pentatonic chords. I'll put it up here for you. I'm playing chords out of the pentatonic scale. They're forms that fit in the pentatonic scale. I'm not really planning what I'm going to play. I'm just playing, and I'm creating sounds. I can do this in major, I can do this in minor, I can do this in modal sounds. I can do it in a major key, a minor key, a Phrygian, Aeolian, Locrian, Lydian, Mixolydian, whatever you want me to do. I mean, just kind of whatever you want. I'm stacking sounds that don't necessarily. That was actually by mistake. That was When the Saints Come Marching In. Nope. I made myself laugh because I played the wrong note. I do that a lot. But if you play this pentatonic chord stuff, maybe it's just my affinity with Eric Johnson for all these years. He's such a great guy, such a great guitar player, such great sensibility, and he's a really nice dude. If you talk to him, really, really good guy. And so I've been listening to, every great player that you all have been listening to, and I constantly pick up things, not necessarily cerebrally, like I don't necessarily learn it, I just hear it and I absorb it, and I learn it through shared experience, right? So I'll play something on my guitar that I'll stumble upon that sounds like something that somebody else played. I'll be like, that sounds a lot like that, and then I'll kind of learn it that way, a roundabout way. One time somebody told me I sounded like Chet Atkins. And I thought, boy, that's interesting, because I haven't listened to enough Chet Atkins at this point. It was years ago. And I think it's because I listened to a lot of Eric Johnson. You know, I was doing like this kind of thing. And I was like, I think I picked it up from somebody else who got it from Chet Atkins. So it was like handed down, one step removed. Pretty neat. But check out these pentatonic chords. It's on the channel. It's really a fun thing to explore, and it gives you a chance to kind of have like a soft, loud thing. Let's see what the comments say here before I jump back in here again. Good evening from Boston. So although all modes are scales, scales are not modes. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. A mode by definition is a 7-note scale, right? So you can have a lot of different types of scales. There's a lot of really weird scales. You can look up scales, get the Guitar Grimoire book, and there's all these just crazy exotic scales. The ones you really should worry about, I should make a video on the scales you actually need to know. That'd be a good video. I always think about videos. I think I have 1,550 video ideas, 65 lesson courses, and probably 50 billion songs. I've been teaching guitar since 1996 is my full-time job, for my full-time day job when I'm like gigging or recording. So that's a lot of songs, right? A lot of songs that come past my desk. So I could teach probably 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of my life, and just I don't know, just plug me into the wall or something. So modes are 7-note scales, but scales can be 5 notes. The pentatonic scales are 5 notes, right? A chromatic scale is 12 notes. The sitar has 22 different sounds. And what I've read is the sitar doesn't actually have note names. It's just measurements. They actually measure out those frets, and they play 5 of those 22 sounds. So it's not really a scale. It's called a raja. It's the way that Indian music works. They just create melodic lines with these measurements, which is a fascinating thing. But they only play 5 of those 22 sounds. My understanding is, though, that there's like not a lot of harmony going on. It's all melodic. And if you think about spirituality, right, in Christianity is all about going home, right? So in Western music, we want to resolve our 5 chord back to the 1 chord. So the tritone resolves. It's like, tension, resolution, resolution, right? So you have that built-in tension with the tritone in the 5 chord, or at least since the church allowed it. Since about 1650. But if you look at Indian music, it doesn't have a harmonic content. It's more about the journey and not the destination, which is interesting because it kind of follows the whole spirituality of reincarnation. It's not about where you end up, it's about the journey, right? So my thought is that I think that the music followed the spirituality. It's sort of, they went hand in hand. I think it's really neat. And there's a lot of stuff in music that does that, where music is mirroring something else in the physical world, in the metaphysical world in this particular instance. Boy, am I off topic here. So yes, a scale. So for another good video on the channel right here is a video on how to add chromaticism into the pentatonic scale. It's what I call muscle car. I have a muscle car glider sort of philosophy. Muscle car is like, whoa, like a heavy cuda peeling out in the mud, like from Phantasm, right? Whereas a glider is more like just kind of flying through the canyons with just like grace and ease. That's a pretty cool thing. So the glider is would be all these wide open intervals like this. I'm kind of gliding versus a muscle car. Everything's really tight together. So that's kind of my brain thinks. I'm like expanding and contracting, much like ice and water or anything else, again, in the physical universe, expansion and contraction. That's the way that our life time functions, right? So we want music to mirror life. It's like a Pied Piper thing, I think. The more you make music about the human experience, and the more you can be organic with your playing and with your writing and with your persona, the more you're going to reach somebody where it matters. The more you're going to, like, I don't play guitar to impress people. I don't think I'm even that great at it. I play guitar to try to enhance somebody's life, to make them feel better, to give them, put them in a good mood, to maybe inspire them to practice themselves or get motivated to do something, not like showing off. I'm not a fan of that. So, and that's kind of good because I'm not really, I don't think I have the stature to show off anyways. But so the point is, The chromaticism thing is really cool if you add all these extra notes in. Check that video out too. So I kind of did that a couple times here during that presentation so far, where I stumbled on those notes by mistake. I didn't mean to, but I put them in there. And so the blue scale note, for example, is a chromatic note, right? Oh, Eric in Boston. Yeah, you have to watch Eric Johnson live to even believe it. Go back. I remember when I was in college, and the first time I watched the Austin City Limits live from 1988. There's the different versions. No, 86, the 86 version, when he's wearing like the Hendrix battle jacket from I think it's a soldier from the Revolutionary War or something like that. Boy, man, the chops are just off the charts. You can't even believe it. So I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to play this pentatonic scale, but I'm going to add these chromatic notes back in to give the scale a modal feel, but we're playing pentatonic, and that's the most important thing here. If you just play the mode, it's necessarily maybe going to sound like you're just going up a scale and down a scale, which is great if you're playing like Yngwie. Like when I'm really warmed up and I've got some gain going and I'm shredding it like 6 tuplets or 30-second notes. Like I think I could do like 30-second, I could do 16 notes at 320 beats a minute. Like if I'm really warmed up, which is like so fast, it's comical. When YouTube first started, those guys used to have that contest to see how fast they could play. And they'd have a clock behind them to prove that they were actually not speeding up the camera to make sure the second hand was going at the regular speed, which I think is so funny. But I mean, I've topped out my metronome a number of times, and it's so ridiculously silly. I just do it because like sometimes I'm so warmed up, I'm just like, and it's just like, yada, 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 not really playing any notes. Doesn't really sound like anything. If you're playing that fast, sure, scales are great because you're shredding so fast. It's almost like, and the key to doing that is you have to play something melodic anyways. You want to be able to slow that down to like 40 beats a minute and still, well, that's probably too slow. I think music has to be at least the speed of the human heart rate or it doesn't sound that great. But you want to be able to slow it down and have it be melodic even if you're playing really fast, right? The key to that is what I call the beat pulse and the phrase pulse. If you want to play really fast like that, you have to key in on like the 4th or the 8th note of each of those patterns. And that way you can play like 4 or 8 times faster, but your brain's locking into every 4th or 8th note. Well, there's a video on the channel right here about the beat pulse and phrase pulse. You can check that out. I've covered a lot of stuff here. The more I think about it, the more stuff I've covered. I've not really talked about speed yet. I did do a live stream video about different gears of playing a few weeks ago. Someday I'll get into a shred video and show you how to really lock into playing super, super fast. But I would recommend trying to be melodic when you're playing really fast, because really fast is kind of just silly if you're just playing a bunch of, fast, just to play fast. When I was a kid, I had a friend who just played really, really fast, and he always ended up on G12. He'd be like, and then play that note. It was really silly. All right, so I'm going to try to be melodic here. That's always the key. And I'm playing over number 41, Dave Matthews. I happen to wear this shirt and inspire me today. I never know what I'm going to do for these videos until I kind of sit down to teach for the day and whatever I end up thinking about. And here we go. Pentatonic scale. Add these colored notes back into it, and it's gonna make it sound better than just pentatonic. See, all that stuff I'm doing there, like, how much of that stuff is actually the pentatonic scale and how much of that stuff is the other stuff that's not the pentatonic scale, but I'm adding it to it, and that makes it so much better. CJ, hey man. CJ, where are you right now? Where are you in the world? Let me know. CJ is on a world tour right now, actually. He teaches at my studio, and he's somewhere in Europe or Asia or something right now, logging in at a different time of day than I am right now, which is pretty neat. My brain is faster than my fingers. Oh, me too. My fingers are really, really fast when I'm hyper warmed up. But I've got to be in that zone. If I'm not, forget about it. Like it's right, like right now, I've been teaching all day. I feel like my hands are made of lead. I can't play anything. I wouldn't play for anybody, however I'm playing for the world on the internet. But yeah, I've got to be warmed up properly to really have my fingers working well. Munich, Germany. All right, cool. CJ, I'm so glad you're watching these videos. Thank you for doing that. I'm hoping I can give you a little taste of home while you're out and about on your tour. CJ Massantonio, if you don't know who he is, he's a phenomenal guitar player. Took lessons from me when he was just a little guy, right? He's one of those students that the second he picked a guitar up and came to lessons, I knew he had it. Like whatever that it is, he had it. Just the very first day, I was like, man, this kid's going to be really good at this. I could just feel it. Then he got this really cool American deluxe kind of like, it wasn't a deluxe, but American something Stratocaster. By the time he graduated from high school, he already had a successful band and it was playing shows. And then he went on to have more successful bands. And I know I can say this one with confirmation. He plays in Galactic Empire, which is the Star Wars tribute band. You've probably seen that video on YouTube where they wear like the Star Wars garb. And CJ is awesome. If you got a chance to check him out playing, he's really, really good. Of course, I'm always trying to learn from you. Haha, I miss the Strat. Yeah, that Strat was nice. I've had 22 guitars and I only have 9 or 8 left. So 14 guitars are somewhere floating off in the stratosphere. And one of them went to this fat bastard who I know never played it. I just needed to buy a different guitar, so I sold it to him. He probably ate it. I have no idea what happened to that one. Thanks for the kind words. Oh, you're welcome. You've totally earned it. So the subject today is playing pentatonic scales, but adding in these colorful notes to the pentatonic scale, the Aeolian mode, but adding these 2 notes back into it, which, by the way, happen to be a tritone. If you look at major pentatonic, it's the 4th and the 7th, right? And those are the notes that we eradicate when we're playing a pentatonic scale for major pentatonic. So it's actually a tritone, and if you look really deeply, it has to do with like the let's see if I can remember this now. I'm always kind of geeking out about theory. It has to do with the minstrel notes, like the black keys, and how the black keys are a tritone away from a remote key on the other side of the circle of fifths, and how they mirror each other, and they're off by a tritone, and the notes you emit from to make the pentatonic scale are those notes. Now that was really a mouthful, but it's neat. I've been thinking about that a lot. So we're throwing the tritone away, which is good and bad, I guess. But anyway, so practice your pentatonic scales, learn the 5 positions, get them under your belt, and then start to add these other notes back in again and try to think in the terms of pentatonic playing melodically and not thinking about playing up and down a scale. Not going... Sounds great if you're shredding at 100 miles an hour. So here we go. I'll do one more round of this again. There's a note right there. Here it is. Gives you a chance to bend a half step in the pentatonic scale too, which is cool. Do that a lot. I'll bend the half step up. Or slide bend. That kind of phrase would not be possible if you didn't have the extra note. Here's a cool one. I don't know if you ever did this before. If you go above, you can do these Mr. Miyagi notes up here like this. You gotta find the harmonics though where they don't exist. right, I'm going to have to call it quits for the evening. I've got to go buy some stuff for my kid, I think, before Walmart closes. But thanks so much for checking out this live stream. I think I'm doing it again probably one more time this week for sure, but I try to get on here a couple days a week after lessons to do this. If you have any requests, let me know. Just leave a comment in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Watch a bunch of videos. Give me some thumbs up, some likes, and make sure you tell your friends to subscribe as well. I have a tie with pinky. Huh. Well, oh, you're welcome. Little finger. Yeah, there's a video on the channel with 3 all-time great guitar riffs that use the little finger. I was trained that way. I went to a university and I was a jazz guitar major in college. So like I've been kind of trained by like 7 different professors who to do things like kind of the right way. So I think my little finger was never really an issue, but I think I was taught to use it like from day one. If I wasn't, I probably wouldn't use it at all. There's a lot of players that never use it. Definitely should get it involved though. The 3-note string patterns will help you with your little finger. If you don't know the 3-note string patterns yet, you should learn to play those because that gets your little finger involved in every single string. Every single string, your little finger's involved. It's a good help for that. All right, I'll catch you next time. Thank you so much.